My all-time favorite recipe for when I want to take shrimp of the woods and make them into an entree. If you've had shrimp of the woods, aborted entolomas, and you weren't very impressed, or your family wasn't impressed, but you love to pick them and put them in the fridge for someone to cook, this is what you need to make. And the entolomas I used were actually this crazy fused cluster of mushrooms, which you can see sometimes, which should technically be aborted honey mushrooms, but they're going to be entoloma abortivum, technically speaking. Either way, they taste the same. They're great. The only difference here is that they're much easier to clean. So I didn't need to wash these, so they didn't give up a lot of water when I cooked them, which is great. I'm just going to cut the mushrooms into bite-sized pieces. This is exactly the same if you're using the regular form of the aborted mushrooms. Then for the sauce, this is really easy. Just get a can of tomatoes, and you can use just tomatoes from the store. I just use some from the co-op here. And what I'm doing is squeezing out the seeds because I don't want a tomato sauce filled with seeds because they're going to reduce it a little bit. And with some of the cheaper tomatoes, you might get some skins still attached. Try to remove that if you can, but it's not the end of the world. And you can see I'm making sure to save the liquid that I squeeze out of the tomatoes because we're going to strain that. There's a lot of goodness in there. We just want to remove as many seeds as possible. And you're going to see there's still some seeds in the sauce. It's totally fine. We just don't want it filled with seeds. Then, this is really important. We want the tomatoes in bite-size, kind of large pieces. And I'm going to cut, I don't know, maybe about half of them up to give some nice meaty texture to the sauce, so those are roughly the same size as the pieces of mushroom that I cut up. And the rest of the tomatoes we're going to put back into the can, and we're going to puree those with a hand blender. And that's just going to make it so the sauce really coats the pasta well. I also love this Vitamix hand blender. Just changed my game when I got that. I threw my other one away after it broke. Now, to make the pasta, start off with a little bit of oil, and then we're just going to add the mushrooms and cook them until they're golden brown. This is going to take a while. This is going to take like 10-15 minutes. So I actually had to do this on the stove because I ran out of butane for my other little hot pan there. And yeah, just cook them for like 15 minutes on medium-high heat until they look like that, until they're cooked down and they're kind of golden and they've lost any water. Then we're going to make a little space in the pan. And if you've made my mushroom conserve, this technique will be very familiar. And we take a bunch of sliced garlic here. And this is modified from a seafood recipe, one of the most popular seafood pastas at a southern Italian restaurant I worked at. Fra Diavolo is a very famous southern Italian dish, and it's made with seafood and linguine. So we're just substituting the shrimp of the woods here, but we're going to cook those garlic, the sliced garlic, until it gets golden on the edges and you almost start to get a little nervous. And then the Diavolo part means devil, so this should be quite spicy. It is always spicy, otherwise it is not Fra Diavolo. Then I'm going to add a little bit of white wine, and we're going to cook that down. Oh, I can just smell the garlic and the chilies already. Then we're going to add our diced tomatoes. And you can do this with fresh tomatoes too, but you'd want to have a little bit of tomato sauce, and you'll want to blanch and peel and seed them. Cook that down a little bit. Then we're going to add our pureed tomatoes. And now we just cook everything down until it gets nice and thick. We'll add a little bit of fresh mint, or you could add basil, or you could add oregano, or you could add just parsley and a good knob of butter there and some cooked linguine. And now we just cook the pasta in the sauce so that it coats the pasta. And the basic recipe is going to make enough for 2 people for a dinner entree or 4 people for a small lunch entree. You need about 6 ounces of dry pasta. Cook everything together for a minute. I'll finish it with some extra virgin olive oil. And cheese, you can add pecorino because these aren't fish. So we can add cheese here. That's actually ricotta salata, which is a great kind of alternative, a cheaper alternative to Parmesan that's very good and also used in a lot of Southern Italian cooking. Look for that and make sure to try it if you haven't tried it. And we're just twisting the pasta and making it into a little nest in the bowl. I'm saving the leftovers for lunch the next day, otherwise I'd plate 2 bowls. And then we're just going to take a spoon and we will spoon all of the goodies onto that little nest of pasta there. And you guys have seen me make a bunch of pastas on this site. We always twist the noodles and put the goodies on top. That is how pasta is done. And then you can finish it with a little bit of cheese. You can drizzle some more olive oil over it. You can add extra chili flakes. But there you go. That's it. Super simple. Can of tomatoes, couple mushrooms. You got yourself a really good, spicy mushroom pasta. Full recipes on my website. Thanks for watching.